Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome to Rediscover, a space where we engage in authentic conversation about life as we grow through it and whatever comes up along the way.
Nothing is off the table here. We talk about the real stuff, the hard stuff, the beautiful moments, and everything under the sun.
Around here, we're always rediscovering, sharing empowering stories, and connecting our hearts and minds with every facet of life.
We invite you to be part of the conversation as we broaden our perspectives, release limitations, and grow to create our most joyful and fulfilling lives together.
So grab a cup of something cozy as we rediscover all the best parts of you.
And bring a little magic into your day. Please work.
Testing.
Ooh.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this month's episode of Rediscover.
We are off to a great start.
We were having some microphone issues, but we got them all sorted.
We are our own IT crew.
Yeah. It only took like 10 minutes.
It's
so
fine.
Record time. But
Yes.
oh my gosh. I think we haven't chatted in about over a month. I mean, minus in the kitchen just now, but
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I know. It's probably my fault.
I mean, we've texted.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Yeah.
you know,
We haven't sat
sit down, chat, catch up. So
Yeah.
welcome to the catch up, everyone.
Yeah. Literally, Rediscover has turned a little bit into Jess and Kristen catching up with each other. But that's kind of the vibe, right? Like, we want you to feel like you're just sitting on the floor with us.
Yeah.
Having a cozy beverage and just hanging out with some friends. So
What's your beverage choice of the day?
I am having jasmine tea.
Nice. That's a good choice.
I have been on a bit of a jasmine tea kick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because Anthony and I like to go eat like Asian food. We'll go to get sushi or we'll go to a Chinese restaurant and we'll get a pot of jasmine tea and share it. And it's just like so cozy and delicious and very comforting. And it sort of started to cool off this evening. And I was like, I think I want some hot tea. And it's jasmine green tea. So like there's a little caffeine, but it's not going to keep me up all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got some jasmine tea at Din Tai Fung when I was there last time.
Ooh.
And we both were like, this is kind of good.
Yeah.
Like, we need to have this more often.
Yeah.
So, yeah, jasmine tea is on the radar.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
But
I'm thankful to my mother. Shout out to her for her tea obsession and growing up. Like,
so fun.
I drank a lot more tea as a kid than the average, American child.
That's
and
very
I didn't,
British of
I
you.
didn't realize until like adulthood that like most people our age don't like tea.
Yeah.
It's just like an acquired taste that they weren't exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I am still a coffee girl for sure, but like it's situational for me. I want coffee in the morning, but as the day goes on, I'm much more of a tea person. Like at night, I want like a mug of tea that I can like curl up in the corner of the couch and wrap my hands around it. That's like ultimate cozy to me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. I never liked tea when I was little because the only time I would ever drink it was when I was sick and my mom would give me chamomile tea, which, Mom, I appreciated. But
Yes.
eventually I got sick of it because I associated it with being sick.
Right.
So then once I got older and then I was really sensitive to caffeine.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, I want something warm. So now herbal tea is my best friend. I
Yeah.
love it. Like, I love peppermint, dandelion, milk thistle.
Ooh, love that.
Like, they're all so good. And I
Yeah.
love that each type of tea has kind of a, I don't know, it has a purpose almost.
Yes,
like
it's intentional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like some of it's really detoxifying or some of it's very calming or whatever it is. I don't know, it's just kind of very, like a self-soother.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, because you drink coffee because you like the taste, because you need to wake up, right? But like other than that, that's kind of
Yeah.
its purpose. So yeah, it's cool to like, I don't know, my mom has this like drawer full of tea, and so whenever I'm over there, I'm like, ooh, what do I feel like? And sometimes it's just like flavor, you know, my decision is flavor influence, but sometimes I'm like, I have a stomach ache or I have this.
Yeah.
And whether or not like you think or believe or have experienced the, you know, physiological effects of drinking tea, like there is a very comforting sense of just like, there's this grounding feeling that you get when you make and drink a cup of tea. And I think that's why for like thousands of years, it's been this like ancient ritual, this like wellness ritual, because even just the act in and of itself of like brewing the tea and drinking the tea it does bring your body into this very like calm state.
Yeah.
And I think if you have something going on physically or mentally, like you're experiencing anxiety or something like that, like it can't hurt you, it can only help you.
Yeah. I know, I love that it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Like no matter, you know, what, it's there to support you. And I do like that it does have medicinal qualities, and it does have, you know, cultural traditions tied to it. Like there's so much. Wow, I just love tea.
I didn't know we were going to go down this rabbit hole, but I love that we did.
I know. It's such a beautiful little thing that we get to have in this life.
Yeah.
It's tea, so.
Yeah.
It's great.
Spoonful of sugar.
I know.
Romanticize your life.
But yeah.
Yeah, it is a really great, I think, self-care ritual. I don't think that we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, but, I mean, I feel like we bring it up sometimes because we always talk about the mug and the two.
Yes,
you always
this
like
is
to
like
say,
our brand. 2 hands around the mug. There is something. I think as your resident Gemini, I think I crave the feeling of being grounded.
Yeah,
and I noticed that a lot while we were traveling this past week. Is like even when I'm in unfamiliar surroundings, I look for ways to feel grounded.
Yeah,
and like the act of wrapping your hands around the mug, like both hands, because in that moment, that's the only thing you have to hold on to. It's very grounding, and it's like, okay, everything's gonna be okay, because right here, right now, like this is all that's in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that very comforting.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love it. Great travel hack. Great life hack.
Yeah. Oh, I bring tea with me when I travel. Like,
I do too. I have a little Ziploc bag with tea bags in
it.
Yeah.
It's literally my bag. I will like check to see if the Airbnb has like a way to boil water, even if it doesn't have a full kitchen. Sometimes they'll have like an electric kettle.
Yeah.
If you get real desperate, you can do the like hot water in the Keurig thing, which you and I have learned sometimes makes you end up with coffee grounds in your
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. That was at our like rediscover realignment meeting. We went to this little like wine bar in a nearby town, and it's such a nice wine bar. I'm like, they've got to have, you know, some tea. That would be so nice. And she's like, here's a mug. You can go get the hot water from the Keurig. And it was just coffee grinds in this water. It was so funny.
It was depressing. I was like, oh God, I'm embarrassed for the person who's having to deal with this right now. Like, for you, I was just, can we get this girl some tea? But like, I
didn't want to be a bother. I just didn't want to drink alcohol.
You did it. She was, you guys, Jess was like, I just wanted some tea. Like, it was so sad. And I was like, oh my God, can we get this girl some hot water? Like, this is a dining establishment. There is a way to boil water that's not this. Like,
so funny.
But I will check, like, on the Airbnb listing. Like, is there a way for me to boil water? And because, like, when we were traveling, like, Anthony and I were like, okay, like, how do we make coffee that's, like, not in a Keurig? Because, like, at home we like to use, we have a mocha. Well, he has a mocha. Mm-hmm. The, like, original, like, the Italian coffee pot, and you make espresso in it. I have a French press, so it's just, like...
They're coffee people.
We're coffee people, but it's again, it's a ritual. It's not like, oh my God, I need coffee. Like, because we work such opposite schedules, and our lives are kind of, like, not literally and figuratively in 2 different places a lot of the time, that like hour in the morning that we get to like sit together and have coffee is like kind of sacred to us.
Yeah.
Like,
that's good. That's good to have that moment, like that grounding moment, because I feel like when you are running around day after day, like just having that moment with your partner to talk and breathe is so crucial.
And again, like that need to feel grounded. And when we're traveling, it's like, oh, this is normal for us. Like, this is what we do. We have coffee in the morning, and now we're in a different place, but we're still having coffee in the morning. So
well, it's like any morning routine, you know, whether you have, you know, a self-care moment or you share it with somebody. Like, I feel like once you get a morning routine going that really works for you, if you don't do it, you kind of feel thrown off.
Your whole day feels like you're sort of like...
I rushed into it.
It's like you're wearing like your clothes inside out. Like everything just feels like a little off. It goes back to my thing that I said like, 2 years ago? Like, coffee is a great first date. Yeah. Also. Yeah. I just think it's very little pressure, like sharing a drink with someone. And I think to your point, like about us going to that wine bar and you being like, I don't want to drink alcohol. I just want a cup of tea. Like, I think we're starting to get better about it, you know, in like the restaurant world, but I think having more, non-alcoholic options that still provide the same like vibe.
Yes.
And like elevated experience that a wine bar does, or a really great cocktail bar, like sitting at a great cocktail bar but drinking a mocktail that's like in a super pretty coupe glass, or like a fun Nick and Nora, and it has like the garnish and the like, it's been, intentionally crafted or whatever, or just like tea service. It's not just like, here's a tea bag, here's a mug.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a little teapot of hot water, and here's your
Yes.
cup, and here's like some honey or something, like
Yeah.
kind of crafting that experience for someone who still wants to have it but doesn't want to consume alcohol.
Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like this year especially, like, people are starting to talk a lot more about just like sober curiosity and just, or intentional drinking.
Yes.
Which I think I more so resonate with intentional drinking. I never want to completely X myself off from anything, but I also want to be, investing in my drinks intentionally.
Right.
Because, especially just realigning back to my physical health state, like, that's a lot of work on my liver, even to have one drink,
Right.
let alone a bunch. So I've just, honestly, I haven't really drank much since end of last year, because I got a really bad stomach ache the last time I drank. I'm like, I just don't, like, was it worth it? I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But this didn't happen as much in Europe, so I don't know what is it.
So funny.
What's here? But anyway.
Oh, man.
But, like, honestly, when I go out, I love a mocktail. It does the job.
Yeah.
Or a cup of tea. Those are, like, my two things. But there's a place downtown Buffalo called Lucky Day.
Yes.
Have you been there?
Oh, yeah.
They have the best mocktail ever. It's, like, my favorite one. It's called the Old Mule. And it's, like, ginger, mint, cucumber, something like that, like in that realm.
Yum.
And it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the way.
This is the way. Oh, we could talk about The Mandalorian, although I haven't watched the season finale yet, so everyone just pipe
I'm
down.
not caught up. You would
Okay.
have to pull Steven in for that combo.
David!
He'd be like, yes.
He's gonna go in here.
But
It's Sam Eagle opening the door in Muppet Vision.
yes.
It's a glorious 3-hour finale of The Mandalorian. Yes. I don't actually know if it's 3 hours. I seriously hope it is, though.
Yeah.
But yes.
But
yeah.
no, like I don't know. I don't know if more studies have come out recently, if I'm just aligned to seeing more people who are more sober curious. I don't know. Maybe it's my TikTok algorithm, but I don't know.
I'm seeing it more too.
I don't feel. But then again, I've never been someone who's felt pressured to like have to drink to fit.
Yes.
And like I would do it because I wanted to.
Right.
But I've never been like that. Because we didn't drink in high school.
We didn't. Yeah, I know people say that because they think they're supposed to, but
we genuinely
did not drink in high school.
Yeah.
We genuinely, and it wasn't because we were like, that's wrong, or we should, like, I don't remember ever, like, having a conversation or even thinking in my mind, like, well, I can't do that because it's wrong or it's illegal or whatever. It was literally just, like, I didn't care. It wasn't on my radar. Like,
it just wasn't really a thing that we did.
We just, like, it wasn't really a thing that the people we spent our time around did. Like, our families, I think, like, both of our parents are very, like, again, social, intentional drinkers. Like,
and we were both, like, well, you're a middle child. I'm oldest daughter. So it's, like, I don't know. I feel like back then our parents were more, like, chill about alcohol. Maybe. At least mine were. Because, like, now that my brother and my cousins are older, it's way more talked about and open all the time.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I grew up around family that, like, drank at parties or, like, at special occasions, but it wasn't, like, an everyday thing by any means. And so
or, like, the center of the event.
No,
ever.
not at all. I mean, the food was the center of the event because I'm Italian, so.
As it should be.
It was the food. I mean, that was very much, like, the predominant conversation, like, we're sitting at breakfast, like, okay, what's for dinner? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're fortunate in that sense. Like, it wasn't ever something we were, like, inappropriately exposed to, but like, you know, our parents aren't alcoholics or anything like that. But I think, you know, aside from that sort of, I don't know, dynamic, it just really wasn't on our radar. We were just busy doing whatever we were doing. We just didn't care.
And then I feel like in like my early 20s and stuff, like I would go to parties and stuff. And yeah, I had a lot of wild nights. They were fun. But it was like a phase of a few years, and then I'm just like, and I've never blacked, I don't know. I'm not like sitting here to be like flexing at all, but I never blacked out because my emetophobia would not let me.
Yeah.
Like vomiting for me was like avoid at all costs.
Right.
But, I would always get to a certain point. I'm like, I'm done. Like I am cutting it here, which kind of worked in my favor because,
right.
that always kind of stopped me. But
right.
Yeah. So like, it was fun. It was so fun. Like at the time, crazy, fun, whatever. Yeah. But now I'm just like, I'm so chilled. Yeah. And also, like, it gives me stomach aches sometimes, so I'm like, I just don't want to do it.
I think for me, like, the inhibitor now, other than the fact that, again, like, I think it's a phase that, I think everyone has a phase with it at some point. Some phases maybe last longer than others, but I think I just don't want to feel like crap.
Oh, I know. Well, because I feel like crap anyway. So I'm like, well, I don't want to do this self-inflicted. It's really not fun.
Right, exactly. I think when you have a chronic health thing going on where you just don't feel good a lot of the time and you're doing everything in your power to feel good. Yeah. And you still don't. The idea of then doing something that is going to make you feel worse is just like, why would I
so unappealing
do that? And so, but I think even before, and I would say not before, but in between my health stuff, because there were definitely some years where it was not as much a part of my life as it is right now. I still was like, man, hangovers suck.
Yeah, they really do.
I'm an adult. I have a job and responsibilities, and I can't muscle my way through the day because of something that happened last night. Like, I have to be with it. And just like the sort of like, for me, a hangover feels like nauseous, shaky, headache.
Yeah.
Like those are I get so shaky. I just like feel exhausted and like dizzy and headachy all day.
Yeah. My hands, I remember going into work once and my hands were like tingling and I was like, this is so uncomfortable. I hate this.
Mine will just shake. And I'm like, I don't want to live like this. Yeah. I just can't do it. And I think the older I get, the more like easily I'll get a hangover.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
like sometimes natural. I'm like, okay, I'll have like 2 glasses of wine and the next day I'll wake up with a headache. I'm like, what the heck?
I know, and especially if your body's not used to it, it just hits so hard and so fast. But
so I think
I don't know. But then again, like I don't know. I support everyone in what they want to do. I just think this is like where I'm personally at right now. And I don't know, I'm just okay with it. I feel like the closer I'm getting to 30, the more I'm just like, I just don't care about anything. I just want to do what feels good for me, what feels aligned, where I feel happiest, and everything else is just noise.
Well, and then not having to explain yourself, and I think that's where
a lot of people get really stressed out, and I really empathize with that because like it can be really hard with like the only people you hang out with, and that's like the center of what you do, and to explain, I don't want to drink tonight. But I don't know. It's one of those things, like, I just wish people didn't question it. Like, it's just a respectable decision.
Right. Or even in larger social circles. Like, what happens when you're a girl and you're out to dinner and you don't order a cocktail and everybody else does? What is the first thing they assume?
Exactly.
You're pregnant.
Yeah. And I think that's just rude.
And why is it that we've, like, become a society that, like, makes those assumptions, or I mean, and that in and of itself is like it's a really touchy thing, right? Like, like fertility and pregnancy. These are very, very touchy subjects. Everyone's experience with that is very personal. It's a very vulnerable space, and that's not something you can comment on, especially when it's someone you don't know very well.
Right.
Like if you and I went out every Friday night, like we had like a standing Friday night dinner thing or something, like the Gilmores. Yeah. And every Friday we ordered like the same cocktail. Yeah. And then one Friday we go out and I order it and you don't. Yeah. Then like I'd be like, Jess, is everything okay? Yeah. Because you're doing something that's abnormal for
a routine.
Yeah. And we're close. But, like, if you were out with coworkers or something like that, like at a work dinner or something, and everyone orders a drink and you don't, and if you're a man and you don't order a drink, nobody says anything. Yeah. But if you're a woman and you don't order a drink, are you pregnant?
Yeah. I don't want to have that
it's
conversation.
Just interesting. Yeah. Yeah. But I think I've always been, and it seems like you've always been, a social drinker. Yeah. And I think that and, like, the intentional drinking conversations sort of resonate with me. Again, like you said.
Like, I like that space. I like, because if I'm going out for a nice, like, Italian dinner, a glass of red wine sounds divine. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You just rhymed.
Thank you. I didn't even mean to, but honestly, though. Skipper. I know, right? But honestly, though, like, that sounds so heavenly to me. Yeah. But I don't need to just go out to, you know, get a random drink for, you know, just because I'm at a bar. Right. I don't need it. It's case by case. Yeah. Again, that's why it's intentional. Like, choosing, okay, is this going to really supplement and enhance this experience for me? Yeah, you have to check in with yourself, and not just let it become an automatic thing. Like, the second something that you do because it's automatic, it becomes habitual. And the second it becomes habitual, it becomes a routine. And when it becomes a routine, it's part of your daily life. Do I want this to be part of my daily life? Is that serving my overall well-being? Probably not. I think if I'm at a party, and by me I mean past younger me, like, you know, in your early 20s or whatever, for me, the, like, okay, I'm stopping is when I remember there were a couple of occasions where I started to feel like there were, like, moments that felt fuzzy. Yeah. Or, like, conversations I couldn't quite remember. And I'm like, oh, this is dangerous. Because I am a girl at a party, and there are people I know here, but there are also people I don't know here. Yeah. And I don't want to put myself in a situation where... And it's kind of sad that we have to live like this, because, again, like, a guy doesn't go to a party and feel like, oh, my God, what girl is going to take advantage of me here? Like, it's kind of sad that we have to live this way, but it was definitely, like, a defense mechanism and just, like, a safety protocol. Like, I can't totally let loose here because I can't trust everyone in this room. Like, I don't know what their intentions are. And I mean, part of it was probably because of my mother, because she was also, like, a single woman for a very long time. And so I definitely think that if she had always felt safe in her environment, she might not have taken it upon herself to be like, these are things you need to be aware of. But I think it's also just from being on my own at a young age, which you were too. Mm-hmm. You sort of learn quickly. But yeah, I'm glad we're kind of starting to get away from it. I don't know if I can pinpoint. I honestly feel like it was after the pandemic, because I feel like people, like, sat at home in lockdown and just, like, drank themselves senseless. And because now it's been, about 3 years? Yeah. And, like, people are like, I feel like trash. Yeah, and, you know, I don't know. Like, I like the movement of it. I like to see that people are kind of shifting. And whoever's listening, whatever you do, like, literally, I accept all of it. Like, no judgment at all. Like, live your life for you, as we always say. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's cool to see. I like when other opinions are brought forward from the norm. I just think it's something that, like, we talk about this all the time, like, questioning what you've always been told and questioning the norm and the typical beliefs of, you know, what we all kind of do as a collective. Yeah. So I think this is interesting. Like, it's interesting to have another path paved for people who resonate more with that, because, you know, I think a lot of, like, when you're starting college and everyone's like, oh, are you going to go to parties? Like, that's a lot of pressure to put on, like, somebody who doesn't really get excited about that kind of thing. But it's just a blanket statement, right? And it doesn't have to be taken personally. You know, if you're not into partying, you don't have to listen to those comments. But, you know, as someone who's in that age group, maybe you do. Maybe you don't have exposure to that. Like, I kind of remember getting a twinge of that and being like, oh, like, should I be excited about that? That's weird that I'm not. But it's cool that there's a space now to kind of just be like, oh, I can choose. Like, I don't have to be excited about that. Or I can. Like, whatever I want. Yeah, because even think about, like, the pop culture we were exposed to in high school even. Like, all the films, all the, like, popular movies were, like,
these portrayals of like the jocks and the cheerleaders and the frat boys and the sorority girls and like all these like popular, attractive, like cool people at these cool parties, drinking and having a good time. And so I sound like oh my gosh, I sound like a mom. But like I kind of get why our parents returning into our parents. I kind of get why like our parents were like, hey, like this is a portrayal of an unreality. Yeah. It's also a portrayal of a potential reality that like you are going to be pressured into fitting into. And not to say like you should choose one thing or another, but like this is one way of doing this experience. My college experience looked nothing like that.
No.
Like,
do you follow Alex Earl on TikTok at all?
Yes.
Okay, I love her, number one. Yeah. I think she's so cool, but she is like hardcore party girl. I could never ever keep up with her, but I think it's so cool that she so unabashedly just lives her life. Yeah. And like she goes out, she parties, she like does the whole U Miami thing. Yeah. And that's great. And then it's also cool that people can do the absolute opposite. Yeah. And like I don't know. I think it's just again, as I'm getting older, I'm like, we can just do whatever resonates with us. It doesn't matter. We can just coexist. Yeah. Like there's no meaning behind anything. Like, if you like to party, cool. Yeah. I mean, be safe about it. Yeah, but... yeah, be safe. But that's you know, given. But it's like, if you like to do that, cool. If you don't, cool. Like, it just, it's not such a hot topic. Right. I think I just thought everything was so good or bad or right or wrong when I was younger. Yeah. And now I'm like, nothing matters. Yeah. It just is.
I remember feeling a lot of, like, sort of like projected regret, because it's not really regret, it's just like regret I thought I was supposed to feel when I graduated from college and was like, oh my god, that was the most atypical, like, did I do that wrong? Like, should I have just like gone away to some university somewhere and like lived on campus and just like done the whole thing? Like, did I screw it up? Did I miss this like great life experience that I'm never gonna have a chance to do again? And I was like, why am I questioning this thing? First of all, it's done. So, like, why are we looking back? Secondly, I don't have any actual regret about it. So,
no, it's perfect for you.
I just felt like I was supposed to do this thing and I did it backwards. But, like, I also got to have, like, some really unique experiences during those years that most people who do the alternative will never get to do. So, and I think that, like, you know, ultimately everything works out to get you where you're supposed to be. And I have no actual regret now. I think it was great. I think it was perfect for me, because I don't think I would have been content just like going to school and going to parties. Like, I liked that I always had a job and like something else to do outside of the school environment, outside of those people, like different groups of people that I got to interact with, and like getting to be at Disney and going to school at the same time made me feel like, oh, I can handle this, like I can do it. And then when I did it and was done, I'm like, wow, I did that. Like, I worked full time and went to school full time and got good grades and like did a good job and was able to keep up with everything. Like, cool. And so it made me feel like resilient and like, okay, if I could do that, then like I can do this, you know? Yeah. And so I'm grateful for that experience, because I think it was so much more aligned with who I am as a person. Like, I am someone who needs to be doing like multiple things at once, and I'm not somebody who like gets a lot of joy out of just like endless, like, so which bar are we going to tonight? Like, that would not have filled my cup.
Right. And maybe it does for other people. Yeah. And it doesn't for you. And that's why I like the concept of, you know, like, when you are looking at other people's life choices, it's like, that's great. It's good to know that those options are there, but like, my path is my path, and nobody else is going to have my path. And, you know, if you are comparing yourself to somebody else, it's like, well, that's their path. Like, to having the realization that I'm not going to have their path. Like, no matter how great it looks from my perspective, that's not for me. Right. And like, whatever's for me is not going to pass me. Like, that's where I'm heading. And everything that's on my own path is, you know, of my own creation and of, like, most aligned with me, and, you know, what fulfills me. And, like, those are the choices that I'm making. So yeah, it's easy to look around and be like, oh, like I didn't have this type of blank experience, whatever it is. But realizing all the things you did have, like you just mentioned, I think is so profound, and so it just gets you in the space of appreciating your own life, because whatever you have going on, like, I don't know, I like to get to the point where I'm like, I'm really happy I'm me. Like, I want to experience what I'm experiencing because I'm building this life from the inside out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm choosing things that align with those higher goals, or like that higher version of me. And they may not look the way they do in my head, but when I look back at them, I'm like, oh yeah, that is really aligned to where I was going. And because of the choice I made then, I'm here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a really freeing approach, I think. I think I needed to learn that over the course of my life in college and beyond.
And you always know when you're in a circumstance or situation that's not aligned. And I know we've spoken about this, but like when you do kind of fall into the like peer pressure trap, for lack of a better word, of like just going along with what everyone else is doing with that phase of life, you feel like you're looking in through a window, right? You feel like you're kind of on the outside. You feel sort of like out of your element, and that's how you know it's not for you. And I think just during those like younger formative years, it's harder to get out of it because you're like, but I'm supposed to be here.
And it's hard to grasp like the concept of you can always make new friends. You can always choose a new job or you can choose new places to go in your free time. Like, there's an abundance of options, and we forget, like, in our little bubble of wherever we're living and the people we're closest to, it doesn't mean that they're not wonderful and they're not great. But if you're feeling not aligned to them anymore, like, there's an abundance of things to do in this world, and new people to meet, and experiences to have. And that's coming from a place of, you know, being really grounded, being really abundant, instead of that lack and scarcity.
Right.
And like, because that's when I don't know, at least for me, that's when I started clinging to like scraps of things and like that desperate energy, and not actually creating my life from a place of knowing like, okay, I'm here, I'm not aligned, I don't feel aligned right now, but I want to be aligned. And like knowing, okay, wherever I go from here, I can get to those opportunities, and those opportunities will come to me. And those people will come to me. Like, they're out there. And I don't know, it is really rewarding and fulfilling, too, when you match up with that. Like, you start to notice your reality is turning into this more elevated version of itself.
Yeah. And then you stop caring about what you're, quote, like, missing out on.
Yes, it just
you just
doesn't
don't
matter.
care. I feel that so much in my life, like, the past, I don't know, few years, I guess.
Me too.
I just don't care. Like, I don't want to use the Eras Tour as an example because I would love to go, but like, I don't care that I'm not. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, I have been watching so many like Instagram reels and TikToks and like stories of everyone who's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is so cool. It's like I'm there, whatever. And I'm genuinely enjoying watching them because she puts on an incredible show. I don't feel like any sense of jealousy or like FOMO when I'm watching them. If that makes sense. When you're like, again, in that space of like abundance or like contentment with where your life is or where you are, you're not worried about what you're missing out on.
Yeah. And like, your priorities are where they are. And for some people, it's like, I want to go to 5 Taylor Swift shows. And like, both of those options are cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I just love about, that's what I love about life right now, and like where my mindset is. It's like, we can just do whatever we want. Like, it doesn't have to be that deep. It's like, it can be fun because it's fun for me, and that can be fun because it's fun for you. And it's not like anybody's missing out on anything. Like, it's just, that's where our priorities are at the moment. I don't know. I just think that's really cool.
And I think it's a really countercultural mindset, right? Because we have this like abundance of choice all the time. Like, we can see alternatives all the time, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing for those people who feel like, oh, is this the only way I can experience college or whatever?
Right.
No, it's not. You can do all these other things. And here are these examples of them that like we didn't necessarily have. Those didn't exist, or we didn't know about them or whatever. But I think the abundance of choice thing, like the double-edged sword of it is that like, I don't know, I'm thinking like relationships, for example. Like, if somebody's like dating someone and they're like, I don't know if this is my, I don't know, maybe this is it, maybe it's not. But there are so many other people out there. Like, what if there's another person? What if there's another person? And I'm saying this, like, because I'm saying this from the experience of having dated someone who had that mindset with me. Like, you're great and all, but there are other people out there, and I just don't know.
Yeah.
This sort of, like, again, but it was coming from, this person was in, like, a serious scarcity mindset. Like, they were very resource scarcity minded. Like, everything was, if I give you this, it's taking this from me.
Right.
So having that abundance of choice when you have that mindset can be daunting, overwhelming, kind of inhibiting for you more than anyone, because you're just constantly like, but what else, but what else, but what else?
Yeah.
And you're never content where you are, because you're constantly looking at everyone else's life or all these other, possibilities and going, what if this is better?
Yeah.
And that sounds like a nightmare to me to live that way.
Well, because you're never really where you are, right? And that's just the craziest thing. It's like the only thing that exists truthfully is the present moment, right? Like the only thing that exists right now is this microphone, me talking to Kristen, us talking to you, and whatever moment you are in listening to this is the present moment for you. So whether you're driving or playing with your kids or cooking something or cleaning, like that's all that's really existing, right? Like the past does not exist. It's only a thought. The future does not exist. It's only a thought. Like it's just right now. And if you're constantly in that space of wanting to get to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, like where's your life going? Like it's not even physically here. It's like all in your mind.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's wild. And that's the cool thing though. It's like we can just make choices based like in all this comparison that we're trying to make. It's like, great, we know the options are there. But when we pick one, like, let's just really enjoy it. Are we picking it because we value it, or are we picking it from a place of fear and like it's gonna go away?
Ooh.
Ooh,
that's so good. Yeah.
Picking from a place of abundance, because when you have a million choices, you just like, you gotta just go with the one you choose and like love it and like relish in it. So, I don't know. It's just, that's a big shift. And I think, too, when we're thinking about, traveling, because when everyone's like, oh, where do you guys want to go? And, we're always like, we want to go everywhere. And it's like, physically, that's just not, like, possible.
Right.
So it's like, we were talking about this yesterday. Steve and I were going for a walk, and we're like, how, like, we need to shift away from that. And we have, like, the past few months has been so good for going inward.
Yeah,
but it's like, going out into future travels, it's like shifting away from that, needing to check off all these places off the list and just being in whatever place we're at.
Yeah.
Because when you look back, it's like, wow, I really wish I would have just been in Paris when I was in Paris instead of thinking about going to all the other countries in Europe.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or all the other continents in the world. It's like just being where we are. It's like when we used to go on Disney trips and planning our next one instead of being on the current one, which was fun. Like, of course, like, you get excited, but now I'm like, oh, it's because, like, or I wish that we were just on that trip, that trip.
I don't know about for you, but for me, I distinctly remember feeling like, oh no, this trip is almost over, and I don't know when my next one is.
Yeah.
Anxiety, fear, discomfort, because, like, looking forward to those trips got me through whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I definitely had a hard time, like, enjoying that moment, because I was like, now what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny how our mind does that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's that, like, part of our mind, whether it's, you call it your mind, the ego, whatever. It's like, it's the scarcity. It's like, oh, this is once in a lifetime where your higher self's, like, living in abundance and choosing from that grounded space. And that's where I kind of want to that is where I want to operate now, instead of just always reaching for more and more and more. It's like, we have so much, and it's so good.
And I think it's interesting because now, and I know other people like my age and older now that are like this, like, going on vacation is great. And obviously I don't travel nearly as much as you do, so but I know that you feel this way because when you got home to Buffalo, you were like, oh my God, it's so good to be here.
Yeah.
And after living in all of these fantastic places all over the world that you've now been to, like the idea of like coming home to Buffalo, New York and feeling like, oh, it's so good to be here is amazing. And it's because you live in that space. But I think now, like even coming back from the trip I was on last week, I was like, okay, that was great. But it's so good to be home too.
Yeah.
Like both things are good.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Both things are good. And I think
that's the place we wanted to get to.
Both
and
things
I'm
are
happy
good.
we've gotten here. Tell younger us that we got here finally.
Both things are good. And I think that's why we also, like, just human beings, but especially, like, in Western culture, we always talk about, like, man, that year flew by. Or, gosh, like, is time moving faster? Like, everything's just, is it already blank month? Insert month here?
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Christmas is only however many months away. It's because we're constantly, like, living ahead of ourselves. So then when, like, the future arrives, we're like, oh my gosh, it's already here. Well, of course it's already here. That's all you've been looking at. Like, you weren't there, so now this is now.
And when it arrives, are you even fully there, or are you looking to the next thing? I've fallen in that trap too many times, and it's just time to break free.
Yeah. Anthony and I recently watched Christopher Robin, the live action.
Oh my God, what? That one made me freaking cry.
Oh yeah, I sob every time.
It's so,
but I love it.
Why did it make me so sad?
Why did they have to go that hard?
I know.
Who are you, Phil Collins? He hadn't seen it, and he didn't grow up on Winnie the Pooh like I did. Like, Winnie the Pooh was my childhood.
Yeah.
So there wasn't necessarily like the nostalgia around the characters or anything, but he knew who they were, and I was like, no, this movie is like very well cast.
Yeah.
It is like very well written. It's beautiful.
Who's in it?
Ewan McGregor.
Oh yeah, that's who it is.
Hey, oh gosh. Oh, Peggy Carter. What is her name? Haley Atwell. There we go. Haley Atwell.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I need to go
great.
back and rewatch this. It's been like 5 or 6 years now.
It's like such a sleeper, excellent live action Disney movie, and I feel like it kind of fell under the radar a little bit, but it is so worth watching. This is your homework assignment. Go watch that movie. And being someone who like thinks and lives in metaphors a lot, I love this movie, and just like I love A.A. Milne for that reason. I love the character of Winnie the Pooh for that reason. Not just because he is a just confident, content individual who loves his body and loves his life, but
as he should.
He's extremely wise, and I think in this film particularly, the writing for his character is so profound in this very childlike and simple way that I, as will call me an aspiring writer, have never been able to accomplish. Like, that's just not who I am. I am flowery, and he is straight to the point.
Simplicity. Yeah.
And at one point, he and Christopher Robin are sitting and like looking out, you know, at the 100-acre wood, and he goes, "What day is it?" And Christopher Robin says, "It's today." And he goes, "Oh, my favorite day."
Oh.
And it's just like, and we were watching it, and he said it, and I started crying because I was literally like, okay, like that's it.
Yeah.
It's today needs to be my favorite day. Not my birthday, not Christmas, not the day we go to this place or that concert, but like just today. You're approaching it with this like almost unrealistic mindset, right? Like that is an unrealistic way to look at like a Monday. Like no one wakes up on Monday morning and goes, "Today is my favorite day."
Sometimes.
When you have like all of these responsibilities and tasks and everything like weighing on you and ahead of you. But that's what it's like to be a kid, though. Like, we always used to talk about that, like, when we would have guests on Rediscover, like, what does being childlike mean?
Yeah.
It means that today is your favorite day. Every day is a day that could potentially be your favorite day. So why not just, like, call it?
Yeah.
And I just thought that was something I, like, need to bear in mind more.
Bear in mind?
Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh. No, seriously. That was too good.
I have to leave.
That was perfection.
6 bits? Is that you?
But no, honestly, I love that. I want to adopt that too.
Yeah.
And I want to rewatch that movie. I honestly, I saw it, I think, when it was in theaters. And I haven't, all I know is that I sobbed. Like, it was so emotional. And then I haven't watched it since. But that is really profound. Like, sometimes when I ask Steven, I'm like, what was your favorite part of today? And he'll just say, right now. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, Because usually that's when, you know, we're sitting at dinner or cuddling before bed or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is such a special moment right now. And two, even the part when you said, you know, Monday with all your responsibilities, sometimes I like to pull apart everything. And it's like, oh, I have all this stuff to do. But it's like, oh, you know, my responsibilities are because I have, you know, the job that I have, or I'm paying these bills, which is unfortunate, but I have the money to pay the bills. That's an amazing, like, moment to be grateful for. Or walking my dog. I have a dog to walk. Like, it's those little mindset switches. It's like, I get to do these things instead of I have to do these things.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because another thing I'm realizing lately, it's like, your experience and your external reality can stay exactly the same, and you can have a completely different experience of it based on how you're perceiving it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if you can be the same, going through the same day, or even let's say two different people are going through the same exact day, the same motions, and one person can have a really horrific time with it, and they're like drudging through the day, and the other person is like enjoying it because they find the fun in it, and it's all the way that their perception is.
Yeah.
That's a really big pill to swallow.
I'm learning that so much more lately, and I'm learning it from Anthony because he is so good at putting things in perspective, and I am so quick to be like, well, this is frustrating. Like, we're driving home from Savannah and there's traffic, and I'm like, I'm sorry, there's traffic. I also apologize for a lot of things that are totally outside of my control.
Yeah, so do I.
I think women in general do this.
We at least we're aware of it. Like, I think.
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
Intentional, not apologizing.
Yeah, catching myself, trying to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, there's traffic, and he just looks over at me and goes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
We're together. We're sitting in traffic. We have gas in the car. We have, like, a podcast on. We have snacks. Like, what? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, we're fine. Like, you're right. It's just a thing you're conditioned to be annoyed about. Like, waiting in traffic, in a waiting room for the train. Like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're conditioned to be frustrated when things don't happen when they're supposed to happen or instantaneously. And so that frustration leads to discontentment. And then you're like, ugh, this day. Annoying.
Yeah.
When things don't load on your computer quickly or whatever, when we're like troubleshooting the microphones, things like little things. It's like, it's so easy to just be like frustrated because it's not the way it's supposed to happen.
And think about it this way too. Like, if we started recording 2 minutes prior, like if we didn't have those microphone issues, we may not be having the conversation we're having right now.
Right.
Because it would have started at a different point in time.
Right.
And that's always crazy to think about. And that's a really helpful perspective for me too. Because it's like, well, if I wasn't stuck in this traffic, what if, you know, something happened? Or what if, you know, I wouldn't have stumbled upon this really amazing ice cream shop that's like my new favorite place to go. Like, little glimmers like that happening because of the timing. And the timing is so out of our control sometimes, and that's why I'm always like, the universe has got this. Like,
right.
It's just happening because it's supposed to happen. Like, I just view it, even when it's uncomfortable, I'm like, everything is still perfect because it's perfect in the grand scheme.
Right.
I can't understand that because, you know, I'm a human and I have preference, but if I take away that preference and just let it be what it is, like, it's happening the way it's supposed to.
Right.
And I think that's been so helpful for me.
Yeah.
There's just so much less frustration. I feel so much more zen.
I know, right? Because otherwise you're, like you said, you can be having the same circumstances, completely different day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's something I'm trying to be more aware of. I also think it's coming with, like, the older I get, the more I'm just like, I'm tired and I don't want to waste energy feeling this way.
Fight anymore with my
I don't want to fight with it. Yeah, I just don't have the fight in me.
Yeah. If I surrender to this, like, won't it just be a lot less energy? And I could still have a really good result and a good time along the way.
And traffic is a perfect example because you can literally do nothing about it. You are quite literally, barring abandoning your vehicle and walking, you are quite literally stuck.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, the perfect occasion to, like, practice that. Like, okay, I can do absolutely nothing about this. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Exactly.
But
it's so funny.
Trying to look at it from, like you said, like I only have a limited view. And so whatever timing I have in my mind as the perfect timing might not actually be the perfect timing. And so if this is how this is working out, I have to just trust that it is the actual perfect timing.
Yeah.
Working in my favor. And I think that that's something that's really hard when you talk about dealing something more long term, like a chronic health issue or something like that. Like, this is taking forever and I feel like I keep taking one step forward and two steps back, and this is frustrating, and trusting that that timing is working out is the single most exhausting thing I have experienced in my life so far.
Yeah, that's the ultimate case of surrendering.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And you know what? It's, even if you don't feel that way all the time, it's okay. Like,
yeah,
it can suck. It can suck, and it can also be happening in the timing it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
Two things can be true.
Yeah. But even swallowing that pill is like, okay. Like, some part of me can rationalize that, like, this is not, you know, going to consume the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But then, like, the fear takes over, or the circumstances take over, or you feel like you're regressing, and then you sort of get in your head like, okay, but like something has got to give.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. And part of it's a surrendering thing, part of it's like a patience thing, part of it's just like a grace thing. And I think these are all things I personally have a lot of trouble like showing myself. Like, mm-hmm. I have patience for other people, I'm realizing, but I have very little patience with myself.
Yeah.
And I think that
could be one of your takeaways from this whole thing.
Yeah. Because I know it's like a perfectionism thing for sure. I also know it's like having difficulty like surrendering to some timeline that's not mine, especially one that's not linear.
And one you can't possibly know. Like, there's no answer
there's just no,
spelled out for
mm-hmm.
you. Yeah.
There's no quick fix. There's no like sure path that leads to the result that I want. Yeah. I think that's been really hard to like show myself the grace and patience that I have for other people, because if my sister was going through something similar, I'd be like, you have to be patient with yourself. Like, your body is doing so much for you. Like, I would say that to her and believe it. Yeah. But saying it to yourself is so much harder.
It's like you have to talk to yourself. So, like, lately I've been doing a lot of reading about ego versus higher self. Mm-hmm. And it's like the ego is the part of you that is kind of like a wounded child, right? Mm-hmm. It's like gone through some stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's always going to overreact when things are changing, when things aren't perfect, when, you know, it senses anything that's quote unquote danger, even if it's not.
Yeah.
And like the reality is your ego is basically there to keep you from walking in front of cars on the street, so you cross both ways, or you don't go into a dark alley. Mm-hmm. So it's like that
keep
part.
You safe.
It's to keep you safe. So it's like, especially in a chronic illness space, it's like on hyper overdrive because everything is deemed as a threat. So I've been, you know, learning about how it's so important to distinguish what that part of yourself is. And then there's the higher self part of you. It's like the devil and the angel on the shoulder, right? Like, but you don't want to ever demonize the ego because it's just a wounded child.
Yeah.
Like, it just wants to be seen and heard. But then the higher self version of you is this calm tone. It's just like, okay, just so you know, this is what's happening. Okay, like, this is, you know, we're going to surrender to this. Like, it's that very grounded space. So to learn how to partner with the part of you, like the ego part that's just like acting up and like talking to it from that higher self space. Like, thank you for alerting me. Like, you've done your job. Now we're going to shift over here. And it's literally like retraining and learning how to dance with it and partner with it. Because I think a lot of times we're told like, the inner critic is the same thing. It's like you demonize it and you're like, this is terrible. It's so strong. It's so whatever.
Yeah.
And learning to somehow let it be there and let it exist and let it be heard, but be like, okay, we're going to shift. And it's just shifting and shifting and shifting back and, you know, to the other space. And it's just, it's never going to go away. It's like learning how to manage it, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
It's
like,
really
I didn't
hard.
realize I was operating from my ego so much. Like, the majority of my life.
You're just in fight or flight all the time.
All the time. And I'm like, oh my God, that's literally how I've been. And it's been an awakening. Like, okay, like, we're gonna start to just become aware of this now. And even if it's not perfect, because nobody's perfect at this, but it's like just the awareness of it is like 10 million steps ahead of where I was.
Oh, I can feel such a huge difference.
Yeah.
When I'm operating that way and when, like, my parasympathetic has taken over.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm waking up. I feel like so much more myself. I feel like suddenly, like, everything is easier. I feel like...
Yeah, so parasympathetic is when you are in more of a relaxed
Right,
state.
Exactly.
And sympathetic. So these are your two nervous systems. Parasympathetic is when you're in more of your relaxed state, you're more grounded, you're more calm. And sympathetic is fight or flight, which is more anxiety, stress, and fear. A lot of our fear. A lot of our society is operating in sympathetic the majority of the time. And it's also why chronic illnesses, like in this conversation we're having, just continue to loop and loop and loop, because if you're stuck in sympathetic, your body is putting all of its energy towards that stress and it's not actually healing. Yeah. So just wanted to give the side.
Sorry, yes.
Because there's a lot of background to this conversation.
Yes. I think I have become aware to the point where I'm like, this is like night and day difference. Like, when I feel good, I feel great. And when I feel bad, I feel like the highs and lows are more extreme, I think, when you start developing an awareness. Yeah. Because you're more aware of it. But I think it's interesting because I am realizing I am not a stoic person in that. And I think it's difficult to say that anyone with any sort of chronic, like, illness or health concern can be a stoic person. Like, I don't know, maybe if you're like super, super evolved, like way past the point of just awareness, like maybe you can get to that point. Kudos to you.
But then again, like, that's not even being human.
Yeah.
You know, like,
just
I
like,
actually think it would be more
suppression
versus, because I think if you are evolved, you actually flow through the emotions more fluidly. That's just my perception.
No, I agree with you. I think it's interesting because the, like, inner critic is like, can you just calm down, or can you just be this, or like, why does it have to be this up and down all the time? And I think for somebody who is like developing an awareness around it, or somebody who is dealing with a chronic illness, that's just not realistic to put that pressure on yourself, but also to like try and force it.
Yeah, because if you're forcing it, like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, like if your body isn't in homeostasis, like, you can't expect your brain to be. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing to navigate. But again, it comes back to that almost like scarcity and abundance, like, because really all that scarcity versus abundance is like fear or contentment. And to be content with your circumstances is to say, like, okay, I know that these things are considered not, quote, normal or not desirable, or they don't feel good, but like, this is me and I like being me, even with blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I think that that's something that's hard to get back to sometimes. Like, do I still like being me with all of this going on? I don't know. Yeah. It's tough. Yeah. I don't have a bright, shiny pot of gold at the end of the rainbow on that one.
It's okay. That's a really raw and honest, like, approach to it, because it's so real. I mean, I've gone through the same exact mind stories, you know what I mean? And it is hard, because you're like, I just want to be healed and better. Yeah. And I think there's always a part of me that's always believed I will be. And I'm sure there is a part of you, like, whether it's really deep in there, it might be really deep in there right now, but there's at least one little cell in you that believes it, you know, and it's sometimes it takes a while for it to grow and come to the surface. But do you think that you've learned any tools that have helped you, like, get into the parasympathetic state specifically, or is it more so just an overall approach?
I think, I don't know if it necessarily helps with getting into the parasympathetic, but I think moment to moment, this sort of, like, not giving it more power than it already has. Like, say you start to feel, like, a symptom or something. Yeah. Something starts to flare. You start to feel like, oh, God, what's going on? If I speak it out loud, because my former coping mechanism used to be to talk about it. Like, if I can voice it out loud, I can rationalize it, I can try to figure out what's going on. And if I can try to figure out what's going on, maybe I can feel okay about it. But I think the more that, like, I was saying, like, this is happening, or I feel like this, or I am this, the more, like, power I was giving to it. Yeah. Whereas if I can sort of, like, in my own head, or in my own, with my own, I guess I don't want to say in my own head, with my own inner dialogue, like, have that conversation with myself, like, okay, this is happening, but, like, it could mean nothing. Like, you know, don't let it, like, you are in charge of this. Whatever's happening, like, I mean, you're not in control of it necessarily, but, like, you're in charge of it in the sense that, like, you can let it rule the moment, rule the day, or you can...
Your response to it.
Right. Yeah. You can control your response. Just like any external, you know, like, stimulant. Yep. Like, somebody says something that pisses you off, you control your response. Yeah. That's just that physical symptom. It's just something's happening that's pissing you off. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? Yeah. So I think that that's helped, like, moment to moment. I think the flip side of that is also, like, internalizing all of it can sort of make it feel like this thing that's going to, like, explode eventually. But I think it's really hard because I think that, like, anxiety and physical symptoms are so synonymous with each other. Like, one fires up the other, whether, like, you're feeling anxious about something and then, like, you start to feel physically unwell, or you start to feel a physical symptom, and then the anxiety triggers, like, and you start to be like, okay, what's going on? And you start, like, spiraling, and you're in your head, like, what happened to trigger this? Yeah. And you're trying to, like, assign meaning to it.
You're trying to give it meaning. Yeah. Right. Whereas, like, if you can just, I used to do this visualization from Faith, actually. Yeah. Also, if you guys need a really good Instagram account, we're going to put it in the show notes, That Healing Feeling. Yeah. She posts all about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, she does.
She did this visualization once where it was like, you kind of, you know, you relaxed your whole body, and then you went in a little door and you, like, saw the pain, like, whatever shape it was, or whatever, you know, color or whatever, and you just kind of, you know, visited it, and you saw it, and you sat with it, and then you left. And it was, like, just kind of acknowledging it. It was so interesting because I think she would say, like, a lot of people would get really scared because they're, like, they don't want to go near it. Like, they want to resist it and get far away from it. But, like, just the fact of, like, going in and being with it made it so much less dangerous to your subconscious. It was just, it was there. You kind of acknowledged it, and then you're like, okay, goodbye. And then you come back. And I was like, whoa, that was really powerful for me because, as you know, I've talked about a million times, the stomach stuff is the hardest for me. I will resist that so much. Like, I do not want to go near any sort of stomach pain. Like, it terrifies me. I, like, want to disassociate from my body. But I would do that visualization, and I was like, okay, I did it. I'm really, like, I felt really brave. Yeah. It was that was a powerful one. I was like, whoa, okay.
I love that. Yeah. Y'all, breathing is like my jam now. I don't know if I've talked about this before. I used to be so bad at breathing. This sounds so stupid. I definitely think I have.
You mentioned this a couple episodes ago. Yeah. But now you've come a couple months.
I learned how to breathe at the ripe old age of 27. Turns out I've been breathing wrong my entire life. And I kind of knew this because I've been told before, like, I remember being in ballet classes and one teacher in particular being like, Kristen, you're not breathing. Kristen, you're not breathing. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm breathing. But I guess I wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
And then wearing, you know, bizarre costumes at Disney that just totally make it impossible to breathe.
Always being told to, like, suck in, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I was probably breathing not well either.
Yeah, not...
Over the years.
Not breathing well. Learning how to, like, properly, like, breathe. Like, belly breathe.
Diaphragmatic breathing.
I call it belly breathing because I just think it's more whimsical.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna belly breathe for a minute. Is huge. I think that's helped a lot. Because, like, whether you like it or not, you calm down. Like, you just do.
Yeah.
You take that big, like, belly deep breath. And Anthony taught me this thing. And you, like, take the, like, full inhale and then you... a little more. Yeah. Once you get to, like, what you think is the top, you, like, bring it up even more. That, like, works.
Yeah. I do it the opposite way, too, to, like, get more air out at the end, because then all of a sudden I can breathe in more oxygen. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so stupid and silly, but
no, it's so powerful.
That's been helpful. I also have admittedly not been super routine about it just because, like, life has been so chaotic lately, but, like, when I do have a moment free in a morning, I will just, like, journal, visualize, like, the most unrealistically positive day for myself. I'll be like, today is gonna be fucking amazing. Yeah. Here's why. Even if the day doesn't turn out that way, there's something about, like, having this, again, like, perspective of, like, this is gonna be a really great day.
Yeah.
And putting it on paper, like, again, speaking a word out loud or putting it on paper gives it so much power. So I think, like, giving the unrealistically positive power and not even taking the time to, like, think about the alternative is super helpful. But I think, like, I gotta get real about it, though. Like, it's hard. Even just doing these practices and, like, having to incorporate these things is hard because you just want to live your life, right? Yeah. Like, you don't want to have to think about, here are all the things I have to do to get into my parasympathetic nervous system to regulate my body. Like,
I get that.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I honestly think the biggest thing is just, like, people that just fucking love you where you're at. Like, I'm gonna cry. People that are just like,
a couple episodes, so we need some tears, all right?
People that are just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, they just love you where you're at. Yeah. And I don't know, it kind of breaks my heart to think about how many people, like, go through things like this and don't have that.
Oh my God, yeah. No,
I don't know what I would do. And then I think to just, again, realize, like, at the end of the day, like, your timing is not the perfect timing. Your expectations are not the perfect expectations. Whatever you think is happening to you that is, like, horrible and awful might actually be serving some higher, better purpose that you're gonna look back on it and be like, oh, that's why this happened. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad it did because of this.
Yeah. Even if you help one person.
And yeah, I've got to say, like, going through all of this gives you so much empathy and so much patience and so much, like, understanding and the ability to hold so much space for people, whatever they're going through. Like, it's not going to be the same thing I am, but there's just so much more, like, grace and kindness that comes out of it. I feel like I'm a better person because of it. Yeah, I think, like, I'm a better human being because of it. Yeah. And I'm learning, like, slowly. I think I'll look back and see, like, I actually gave myself a little bit more grace than I thought I did, or I actually was able to, like, adapt to these circumstances better than I thought I did. Like, coming back from being on the most consecutive PTO I've ever taken in my entire adult life this week, I was like, this is going to be a nightmare. Like, leading up to going on PTO, I was like, okay, I hope I'm covering all my bases. I hope I'm doing enough work to, like, justify taking this time off, whatever. And then I didn't do, like, almost any work the entire time off I had. And then I came back and I was just like, okay, what do I need to do? And I like made my list, and then I just started tackling it.
Yeah.
And at the end of like the first day back, Anthony and I were talking. He was like, how was your day? I was like, you know what? I handled this day a lot better than I thought I was going to. Like,
yeah. It's like the anticipation's almost worse than actually doing it.
And while I was on vacation, I did not anticipate the first day back. I did not think about it. And that is huge growth for me because I am not good at that. So there's more, right. And now I'm like, oh, I did that once. I can do it again. There's more, like, you're so much better at, you guys are so much better at shit than you think you are. Like,
that is so true.
You're so much better. Like, gold stars all around.
Yeah.
You're literally doing great.
We're all doing really great.
Yeah, sorry for that little bit of a rabbit hole. Didn't know we were going to go there today.
No, that was really, I don't know. But that felt healing in a way.
Thanks. I choked down the tears, y'all.
You could let them go.
Because here's the thing I've also noticed now, like when I cry, I like for real cry now.
Yeah.
I didn't used to cry like ever. Yeah. And now when I start to cry, it sort of just doesn't stop. So.
It's okay, you know? It's a release. We always say this, but crying is an energetic release and it's good.
Oh, I feel so much better after I cry. I think there's still so much, there's a lot of stigma around like women and crying. Not that this is news to anyone, but like we're just not allowed to cry.
That's why I'm so in support of it. I'm like, just everyone fucking cry.
Yeah.
Like, let's get it out there. And it's, I don't know, like, that feeling afterwards is, it's kind of like this buzz of, like, release. You know, you're just like,
I feel like...
I did it.
Do you ever go to the beach? I know you do. I
know you do.
Never
been.
We do. So, you know how you go to the beach for, like, the whole day? And you're in the sun the whole day. You're swimming in the ocean. You're salty and sandy. And you go home and take a shower.
That is the best shower.
The best shower of your life is the post-beach day shower.
Yeah.
You're like a little, not like sunburnt, but you know, you've gotten some sun. Your skin is like warm. You need to wash all the sand and salt out of your hair. So you do like the full shower. Girls, it is hair wash day.
Hair wash day, leg shaving day, the works.
Yeah, you shave your legs, you wash your hair, you do like the hair mask, like the deep conditioning one, because you're like, my hair's been in the sun all day. It's like dry. Yeah. You get out of the shower, you, like, moisturize, because you have to moisturize after the sun. And then you, like, put on your comfies. That is how I feel after I, like, good cry. It's that feeling. That just, like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, everything is just still for this moment.
Yeah.
Like, I am warm, I am snuggly, I am moisturized.
Yeah.
I am okay.
Yeah.
That to me, like, that is an equitable feeling. It really is like such a like sense of like relief, and comfort might be the wrong word, but I feel like you just feel better.
Yeah.
You just feel so much better.
Yeah.
I think I didn't cry for a really long time, like ever.
Yeah.
Part of it was because I was suppressing my hormones, but part of it was just because I think like we're just conditioned to like not cry.
I know, I would always get really mad at myself when I cried, and I would, like,
right.
I don't know, I remember just going through whatever emotional thing I was going through in, like, early college or something, and I was just like, I cry at freaking everything. Like, why do I cry all the time? Like, I kind of made it a joke, and I'm like, it's okay. And honestly, the more that I just kind of let it happen, like, I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it happens when it happens, but I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't put all this energy on it, like, oh my god, I cried. I haven't cried since a week and a half. Like, I don't track it. Like, it's just a thing. It's
crazy that we track it.
I know.
You're not alone in that.
Okay, this is funny though. Have you seen that girl on TikTok? I'm such a TikTok girly sometimes, but this girl, she tracked how many times she cried in a quarter, and she has a
quarter,
like, you know, like a quarter,
like a fiscal year. Quarter. Yes.
And she does a graph how many times she cried and the reasons for each, and she does an analysis video. It's amazing. Her TikTok is so funny.
What's her TikTok?
I gotta find it.
Okay, you send it to me.
I think that is like. It's, I don't know, it brings humor to this, you know, concept, and it makes it more normalized, because she's like, I cried this many times over cute dogs, and this many times over my boyfriend, or whatever. I'm like, oh my god, it's so funny. God. But, anyways, I don't know, I got to the point where I was just like, it's just a thing. Like, it just is something that happens, and I let it pass through me, and then it just happens, and it's kind of nice, because I used to make it wrong or like not shame myself, but kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, why am I crying at this?
It's interesting 'cause obviously men, you know, are sort of pigeonholed in this space of like, you can't cry because then you're not masculine, then you're not strong.
I love when men cry.
Yeah, same. When Anthony cries, I like get so excited.
I know. I think it's like, we should feel that same way about us.
Right. But
you know?
as women, like we've spent so much time trying to prove that we're not weak, that we're trying not to be vulnerable, or we can't show vulnerability because the second we show vulnerability, we will be used and taken advantage of. So what do we do to not show vulnerability? We wear suits and we don't cry.
So we're just
put on a blazer,
masculine,
right? Exactly,
to cover up.
So we are becoming misogynistic and promoting toxic Oh, I'm like leaning into the microphone right now, y'all.
No,
we're
it's
promoting
true.
this toxic masculinity by leaning into those behaviors and deeming them acceptable by also participating in them.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want to be seen as weak or vulnerable either. We're almost like emasculating ourselves in a weird way.
And the power is actually in the vulnerability and in the feminine, which is
right.
the craziest part about it.
So, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure you weren't brought up this way because your parents are like really freaking wonderful people. My father growing up, I feel like I don't talk about him very much, and that's like for a good reason, but I will touch on this one piece. I was not allowed to cry.
Oh my God.
If
really?
I cried, I was called Sarah Bernhardt, which apparently she was like some like dramatic actress like back in the day or something. You're being such a Sarah Bernhardt would be always what I would get. Stop crying. You're being dramatic was the word associated with me crying. Even if it was like I fell off my bike or something. Don't be Sarah Bernhardt. You're fine.
Ow.
So
I'm
it was
so
like
sorry.
there was no permission to be vulnerable because being vulnerable meant I was bad, and being bad meant you were punished. Mm-hmm. So, and my mother was not this way, but it was sort of these, you know, my parents are divorced. Any of you who come from families of divorce, you know that like growing up, you get two arguments. You get two sets of discipline. You get two sets of rules. You go to your dad's house, it's one thing. You go to mom's, it's another thing. So you're constantly living these two separate like, and in your formative years, it's like, what is actually right or wrong? Because I'm hearing this thing from this person and this thing from this person. Yeah. And I mean, when you're like a little kid and you like fall and you look at your parents, like the kid is literally looking at you to be like, am I okay?
Am I okay or am I hurt? Is this bad?
I'm like, well, okay? if you're hesitating, you're probably fine. Yeah. So you're okay. You know, brush it off. Like my mom would be like that with us. Like we would like sort of get a bumper scrape and we would just like look at her and she'd be like, you're okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I can keep going. Yeah. That's healthy. But I think like, you know, you get really hurt or you experience something really sad. It should be okay to cry. And I just was not, it was like super criminalized. So.
Well, and think about how he must have been brought up to be teaching that to his children, you know.
He could write the book on toxic masculinity.
Yeah. No, honestly, and that's the cycle that's going on for generations. Yeah. And you're breaking that, which is really
and I think
empowering.
With Anthony, like we will watch like, what do we watch? We were watching Mary Poppins Returns and we both cried at like the same part. And I was like, oh, the other day, it was our last day of vacation and I had to take him to the airport so he could come back to Buffalo. And I came up 2 days later. So it wasn't like we were going to be separated for a long time, but it was like the end of the vacation. And there's still a lot of uncertainty in our relationship because we still do live, you know, apart from each other and all these things are still very up in the air. But we're sitting at the Tambu Lounge at the Polynesian because we love the Tambu Lounge. He loves the noodles, the Ohana noodles.
They're so good.
So we always go and get them. We get the pot stickers, we get the noodles, and we have like, you know, a lapu-lapu or something. So we're sitting there and we're just waiting to take him to the airport because his flight was delayed. And we're just talking about like the circumstances and everything. Like it was the first like reality conversation we had in several days because we were in vacation mode and now like vacation mode is dwindling, right? Yeah. So we're just talking about like circumstance and where we live and where we want to live and do we want to live there and what does this look like and how are we going to keep doing this distance thing and whatever. I just got overwhelmed and started to cry. And it was like the first time in a while that I was just like, I am crying and I'm not really going to do anything to stop it. I probably said sorry. I'm sure he's going to listen to this and be like, you definitely apologized. But for the most part, I was just like, okay, this is happening. And then I looked at him and like he started to cry. And we're just sitting at a bar at a Disney resort, like people around us. We're sitting at a freaking community table. There's people literally right next to us. And we're just like, He's like tearing up. I'm just openly crying. Like, oh my God, I just scratched my own nose. I'm just openly crying. Am I bleeding?
No, you're fine.
Y'all, I can't talk without my hands, and sometimes it gets a little.
You're okay. I'm like your mom now. You're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not gonna cry. Yeah, I'm just openly crying at a bar at Disney.
Honestly,
right.
The amount of times I've cried at Disney.
Oh, and we were sober
countless.
also.
Yeah.
Like, this was not alcohol-induced crying. This was, like, totally sober crying.
I feel like people just go to Disney to cry. Like, the kids got it right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The adults catch on sometimes.
Oh, I really scratched my nose.
Oh my gosh. Do we need to get Neosporin?
Listen, no, it's okay. Is it red?
No. I mean, it's like... It looks like you scratched, but there's not like a line or anything.
I'm leaving all of this in the episode.
Sure.
If you talk with your hands, you understand.
Yeah. But no, and like I think it's good that you guys were able to have like the space for each other to just express your natural emotion. Like the emotion just moves through the moment. Like it doesn't that's what I've been trying to learn. It's like it doesn't have to be this whole like thing. It's just
part
the
of the
emotion
moment
that's surfacing and you experience it and then you move through it.
Just like the moment itself. Like it's here and then it's gone.
It's like a wave.
Yeah.
Like to the beach.
Right.
And the next wave comes.
But then if that happens, people say you're moody or you're bipolar or you're not in control of your emotions, whatever. Like there are all of these little stigmas and stereotypes around that too. Like you shouldn't be labeled or you're hormonal. Like,
oh my God, I hate that. Like, did you know part of the human experience is to experience the full spectrum of emotions? Like,
did you know it's not just because I'm on my period? Yeah. Weird.
Did you know that these are all societal standards that have been implemented into us, but like as human beings, our like functioning bodies are supposed to just go through emotions.
I am not a robot.
I know. It's crazy. I know. No, I had to get comfortable with that because I used to just... Because you view other people and you're like, wow, this person handled it so well. Like, no, this person never reacts. This person's always happy. That's not fucking true.
Yeah.
It's not true. Like, everybody experiences every emotion. Like, this is how we are designed, like, physiologically.
We literally celebrate the people that are, like, always okay. Those people that are just, like, rocks. They're, like, immovable mountains.
I don't think that's okay to do.
I don't think that's healthy.
I don't like to celebrate people who, like... are constantly like so strong. Like, okay, yes, I do celebrate them in the sense of like I love them for who they are, but like I don't like to celebrate that quality trait. I don't like to celebrate people who like work themselves into the ground, like all these overly masculine things that people like put up on a pedestal. I'm like, let's get real. Like, this is not something that we need to applaud because then this habit just keeps perpetuating and this person is driving themselves into the ground because they're getting... It's like they're getting this applause for doing something that is socially accepted, but like personally is detrimental. Yeah.
Also, for what?
Yeah. Acceptance in society? Like, I don't know.
In this really temporary space that we exist in for like a while.
Yeah. It's a lot to think
But again, like you said earlier, like it's the bubble like that you live in. Like it's your bubble, it's your world, it's all that you know. So you just conform to whatever like the highest standard of that space is. Like you want to be at the top of the food chain. I mean, there's some like sort of primitive like survival element to that, right? Like you've got to be at the top of the food chain or you're going to get eaten alive.
Right.
So what does the top of the food chain look like for our little food pyramid? It looks like the super successful person that works all the time and makes a lot of money and has a lot of things, therefore stability and assurance and
staying alive.
Yeah.
But
prosperity.
Yeah. But what does success look like to you as an individual?
Right.
And that's the really deep question.
And that's harder to define because you can't look around you.
Yeah.
For examples.
You have to look within you.
And then when it feels like something that isn't reflected in what you see around you, then suddenly you're an outcast.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you're on the outside looking in. And that's not a comfortable place to be.
New mantra I love. I am comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is a big one.
That's oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you like can get to that space, even if it's, you know, as with any affirmation, like it takes a while for it to become actually true.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Because if I can be comfortable being uncomfortable, because life is uncomfortable. There's no, like, comfort
Yeah.
fast pass to life.
There's also
You
no,
know?
like, one correct way to be comfortable. It's like what you can fall asleep to. Like, people who live in cities, white noise for them is literally like garbage trucks.
Yeah, and
Like,
honking horns.
I can fall asleep to that because
Yeah.
I've lived in, like, apartments where there was just always street noise.
Yeah.
For my parents, that my mom would be like, give me earplugs. Like, this
Yeah.
is a nightmare. I need, like, crickets and nature sounds or I
Yeah.
can't do it. And it's just a different type of comfort. But again, it's like being comfortable, not just like comfortable being uncomfortable, which I love, but like comfortable being on the outside looking in, like getting comfortable being the quote outcast.
And that is uncomfortable for me. Like, I'll admit it.
Yeah.
Like, even having conversations with my family members at home about my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, like, so what are you and Steven thinking? Like, what are you thinking of doing
When are you
next?
gonna settle down?
I know. And I love my family. And I love the intention. Like, you guys just, you know, they want to know. They want to know, like, what the plans are.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking of doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
If we come settle down sometime, it'll be because we're thinking of doing that at that time.
Yeah.
But that's not where I'm at right now. Like, traveling is what I'm thinking of doing.
Yeah.
That's not, my dream is not to have the same career for 40 years. And, like, I honor that. Like, that's, you know, my dad's path. And I love that for him. But it's not my path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And, you know, I don't know what my, you know, retirement situation is going to look like. Or my housing situation is going to look like when I'm, you know, X amount of years old. But, like, that'll work itself out when I'm that age. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just... And I think I'm... Like, sometimes I struggle with that because I'm like, no, what I'm doing is justified.
Yeah.
But I don't... I need to learn. Like, I don't have to justify what I'm doing. I just need to trust and know and anchor within myself. Like, this is right for me.
Yeah.
Because I feel that in my core. When I get... you know, opinions from people who are close to me that kind of waver that, it does kind of shake me a little, and I have to come back and ground myself to know, no, this is right for me.
Yeah.
Like, I have genuinely never been happier. I feel like the pieces in my life are in the places that I, you know, have dreamed of them being in. And if my situations were all different, I would want to be able to still internally come to a place of feeling that, you know?
Yeah.
But I want to live, again, in that space of abundance and choice so I can create this life that I want to live.
And I think it's a generational thing, too. Like,
for sure.
Our generation is a lot more comfortable living in unpredictability.
Yeah.
Because our parents' generation had a lot more predictability.
Well, if you even look at the prices of when they were our age versus now, it's like multiple 100% more.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about, like, an Eagles concert that my dad went to. The tickets were $11.
Yeah.
And now for the same seats, they would be like $400.
Right.
And it's like, that's a very large difference. You know what I mean? Like, I get that it's concert tickets, but it's not just
11,
it's not just concert tickets, it's everything. It's rent, it's housing, it's and like, and what kind of growth have salaries gotten? It hasn't been that exponentially. It doesn't equal out. It just doesn't equal out to the amount that prices are. So that's also why I'm like, okay, listen, like, there's just no one way to do things anymore. And, like, as long as your bases are covered, that's my survival. That is my, like,
I'm taking care of my survival.
Care of my bases and my survival.
Right.
Past that, I want to make choices to create a life that I love and trust that I'm going to be led on a path where I can blossom and flourish into that space of abundance. Like, I just have to believe that. Even if I have no physical evidence, it's like trusting the process and getting to the next step that's going to make sure, like, okay, we're taking care of this. We're taking care of this. I'm taken care of. I'm safe. Like, retraining that, because it's so, like, we're fed scarcity. We're fed that fear. We're fed fear all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's like that's a really big one right now for me to, like, untangle.
Yeah.
But I'm so, I don't know, like, internally I feel so proud and, like, peaceful of where I'm at.
Yeah. I even am like like I was saying to you and Steven earlier, like after traveling this past week, like just staying in all these Airbnbs and stuff, I'm like, how do they do that?
It's called slow travel.
Yes.
Long spans of time to not burn out.
Like to the point where you can get comfortable somewhere. I think that's the key.
That's the key. I couldn't do it if we were hopping because I had friends who did that. I met my friends in Rome, Mike and Brent. They would travel full time, work the way that we did. Well, Mike did. Brent was not working at the time, but they would go places every 3 to 5 days ish.
Oh my God.
And I was like, how do you do that? But they would, they came back and took a lot of breaks back in the States, and now they're kind of back in the States full time. But I'm like, guys, I could not do that.
No.
And I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
But I physically need the space and time to unwind, unpack. Because even if
settled.
I'm there because for our next stretch, we're going to do 2 weeks in a place. That's long enough for me. I'm like, okay.
I can,
2 weeks is
good. I will unpack for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think you've hacked it. And I think, again, like our generation has become comfortable living in unpredictability to a certain extent. Like we don't have one job for 35 years and then retire.
And that's a great path too.
That's fine. It's just very uncommon these days.
Yeah.
That's great. Sometimes I'm like, wow, like what would that be like? But it's just not the reality for most of us. And so this is the reality that we have adapted to. And it seems so unfathomable to them because it's never been on their radar.
Yeah.
So I think, while those questions are probably well-intentioned because they're like, I just want this for them because this is comfort and stability and happiness.
Right.
To you.
Yeah.
And I think your life is so cool. I don't think I would want to travel as much as you do, but I also am not in love with traveling as much as you are. Like, right, I love it, again, but it's not my life's passion like it's yours.
Exactly. Again, like when I go back to the whole your path is your own path thing, it's like that's what matters. Like it doesn't always have to be like, oh, this person's doing that, I have to do it too. Like,
right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Don't do things just because somebody else is doing it and it looks cool. Like make sure you actually want to do it.
And this is coming from a place of like, when we were younger, I absolutely wanted to do everything Jess was doing. Like,
yeah, and I mean
that was how our relationship was. You were the proverbial big sister. You were the person I looked up to. You were the person who was like, Jess is wearing army pants and flip-flops. I'm going to wear army pants and flip-flops. I mean, people at our school literally called me your mini-me. Yeah. Like, both in a good way and sometimes in, like, a condescending way. It was that.
And it kind of led to our detriment at the
because
crossroads.
I was put in this... I put myself into it too, but I think I put myself in this position and was put in this position to constantly compare myself and every element of my life to yours, which is so unrealistic. And now I'm like, that's cool. Have a good time. See you when you get back.
Yeah,
like,
and for me, I would be like, oh, I don't want to like tell you something to make you upset that like I'm doing this without you kind of thing. So it's, again, and it's such a good lesson to learn like at that age, because to continue, like we got that lesson hard and just clear and strong at that age. And I think now, you know, with the social media space, like people learn it now because it's just a constant comparison trap.
I really think that part of the reason I'm so unaffected by social media is because I went through what they go through on a very personal level with you. Yeah. Like it wasn't just someone I see on the internet. It was someone I like loved and was super close to for a very long time. And then like it just like shattered my world for a while. I mean, even at Disney, like Disney culture, Disney entertainment culture.
Yeah, constantly comparing like, oh, this person got this role and this and this and this.
And I never cared.
Yeah, and you were like, okay, I'm content with what I have.
I never cared.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends in the entire world forever and ever, Bonnie, who many of you probably know who she is. Bibbidi Bonnie, we love her. She is like one of the most honest, like just absolutely grounded, down to earth, tell you like it is people in the entire world. But we were talking a couple weeks ago when I saw her, and we were just talking about Disney and everything. And she was like, you know, you never really fell into it. Like you never changed. And I was worried when you got the job that you got that you were going to change. And we like lived together at first and everything, and we did everything together. And she was not working in entertainment. And she was like, I was a little afraid you were going to get like too cool for me or too good for me, or like you were going to kind of like drink the Kool-Aid and become better than everyone. And you never did, and you never cared.
Because it was so easy to fall into that.
And I was like, that means the world to me coming from you, because she had a front row seat the entire time for everything. She was there for like every like phone call from casting that I got or whatever it was. Like she was right there. So that meant so much to me, because there were times where it was really hard, but I remember consciously feeling like, I don't want to be this person.
Yeah.
Like the people who were so obsessed with like who was coming to take pictures of them, or like what they got cast in for whatever season or whatever. And I was just like, yo, is this a job? Like, it's a really cool job, but it's a job. And like, it became so much more about the kids and the families and the people I got to meet than anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm not flexing here. I'm not saying like it's hard. And I'm not saying that the people who like do find those things important are bad people. Like, they're just way more into like the performer culture than I was.
Yeah.
But I think, again, being comfortable being on the outside looking in, being comfortable being uncomfortable in your environment because you know you don't totally fit in is hard. But I think like going through that kind of when you're younger in those more formative years helps, because I think if I hadn't snapped out of the comparison thing with you, it would have been a lot easier. And not to say that I didn't do it. The body image thing was hard, but it's just like something you constantly have to check yourself about. Yeah. Like, am I affected by this? Yeah. Is this something I'm just seeing and passively, like, again, like experiencing moment to moment, or is it something that I'm internalizing? Yeah. But
yeah, again, it's like one of those things, like, that happened and it sucked when it happened. Like, a friendship breakup is arguably worse than romantic breakups. Like, for real. And ours was rough. It was really, really hard.
It was so awful.
But again, it's like looking back on it, like you were talking about before, looking back on something that was so hard and so, like, awful at the time. But holy cow, if that didn't happen...
Like, we literally wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
We wouldn't be sitting here doing this, number one. Your experience in your job would have probably been very different. Mm-hmm. Like, you as a person would be very different. It evolved you in the time when you needed to evolve so you could move into the next space in your life and have that grounded experience, have that fulfilling experience, like, put the kids and the families at the forefront of your experience. Yeah. And I think that's, like... really, really amazing to look back on and see the path that took.
I also think it made you feel like free. Does that sound weird?
No, and I mean, because it kind of did in a way.
Like,
and I'm not saying
not like, in like I was finally free of you, but like,
no.
I think you felt responsible for me.
Yeah, and I think that's an accurate like way to sum it up, like, because you know me, like, I never want to do things, and I still sometimes see this pattern come up. It's like I never want to do things and like rub it in people's faces and make them feel bad. Yeah. Like, that's why I always want to be so encouraging and say, like, anybody can do these things too. Mm-hmm. But like, again, it's about like self-responsibility and doing it yourself. And it's like, I wanted to provide you the opportunities to do whatever I was doing because I knew like you wanted to, but also I couldn't do that all the time because it's like you kind of have to do your own thing in life. Yeah. So, yeah, it was, well, and that's hard because you know you don't want to hurt somebody that you love, but also like I have to like go my own way kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think like you doing your college program was the catalyst to that, right? Because like you were doing the thing we both had talked about, like dreamed about doing. Right. You were able to do it before I was, not because, like, literally because we are two different ages. Yeah. Like, you were in college and I wasn't in college yet.
It wasn't even like we applied at the same time and one didn't get in. Like, it was just timing. Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't something like I resented you for doing without me, because we always knew, like, each of us would do it at the earliest opportunity. But it was like, you needed to be able to have the space to like experience that without feeling like you were leaving me behind. Yeah. And I think that there was always, like, I always felt a little left behind, even though I know that wasn't intentional. And I think you always felt a little like you were leaving me behind, even though that wasn't intentional. And I think that, like, not that I recommend breaking up with your friends, because again, that was like truly horrible. But I think that it like needed to happen. I don't love the way that it happened, but I think it needed to happen.
Yeah. And I think the fact that we can sit here now and like talk about it openly the way that we do now is like a beautiful thing. I never expected to have a friendship again.
No.
Ever.
No.
It was one of those things where I was just like, this sucked. And that was really sad. And it's like so devastating.
Yeah.
Like, I remember even your mom being like devastated. Like, you guys are lifelong friends.
I know. Your mom too. Yeah.
And it's devastating. But I literally got to the point where I was like, okay, like it's just, I've moved on.
It's over.
Like, it's over.
Yeah. And I felt that, like, as sad as that is, I felt that way too. I was like, okay, like.
Yeah. But it just, like,
I've moved on with my life.
Yeah. But it was meant to be at that time. And now it's just, like, so much better.
It's so much better.
It's so much better. And it's really cool to have a friend who gets you from that early point in your life and then who gets you in this point in your life. And I don't have a lot of friends like that. And that's cool.
It's been 10 years since our breakup.
Holy shit.
My 10-year high school reunion is this year. And we
2013. It's 2023.
We broke up in 2013.
Wait, like, literally next month in May. At the end, May, June. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad we're back 10 years later. See, and that's so funny. When you're that age, you're like, well, maybe in 10 years if we're friends again. Like, you say stuff like that. And then, like, you literally are. But, and that's the thing.
So how long have we been friends then, technically? If we don't count the dark years. How long have I known you?
Since
2009?
I started, because my high school was 7 to 11. So 2009, yeah.
I don't even know how many, 14 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally half my life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, though.
Good for us.
Yeah. So, there can be happy endings to friend breakups, which is, you know, and there doesn't have to be.
No.
But it's not, again, it's coming from the space of, I want it, but I don't need it. Like, I want to be friends again, but if it doesn't happen, like, I'll survive.
Right.
And I'll be okay, and I'll cherish the time that we had.
Yeah.
And that's
and I have friends like that, too.
Yeah. And honestly, I've had so many friends, like, I still cherish and love all my friends. I see all of our old pictures, and I still have that same love for that moment. But I also know, like, those people in the pictures are, like, totally different people now. Oh, sorry, I just hit you. Okay. And that's okay. We're both talking with our hands here. Again, it's like, it's trusting your process.
You can be friends with your ex-friends, but you can't be friends with your exes.
That's true.
I think Taylor Swift might agree with that.
I think so as well.
Should ask her.
Yeah, because she's really going through it right now.
I know.
It doesn't seem too good, but...
No.
Anyway, sending her love.
I know. I hope her therapist is on tour with her. Because, like, girl.
I hope she has one.
I think she does. I'm sure she does.
I hope so.
You think she does? I think she does.
I remember her saying she did not for a while, but I don't know.
Oh, really?
I hope that's changed. Because, like, I feel like it's a good thing to have. But also, who would understand...
I know.
But okay,
that's probably
it has
the
to come
problem.
down to a scientific level, right?
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. Sending her love.
I know. It's like, it's hard to be her. I don't envy her life.
She's fucking amazing in every way.
She's amazing, but like,
she's got
her life is hard.
She's got a lot to carry on her shoulders. Yeah.
The literal weight
yeah.
of all of our serotonin is on the shoulders of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And the people who make the Great British Bake Off.
Oh my God. When is the next
I don't know, but it's been like a while.
It usually is in the fall, so I'll hold out for that. Ted Lasso season 3 is out right now, which is pure joy.
I am in full Mandalorian mode at the moment.
That's great.
At the moment. And then...
Yeah, because that's ending.
We'll get the new, like, fake Bridgerton season at the beginning of May. Which isn't real, because it's like a spin-off.
Yeah.
But whatever.
There's a lot of movies coming out this year, too.
Yeah.
Mario was really cute.
Oh, yeah. It looked cute. I didn't see it. You guys are so much better at seeing movies than I am.
I'm dating Steven.
Well,
it's
right.
Very important.
The live-action Little Mermaid is obviously one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Gonna go in with low expectations.
Yeah, but I think it'll be pretty regardless.
It's gonna be beautiful. She's beautiful. Her voice is incredible. Like, I'm gonna love her.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else, I'm like, just don't mess up Scuttle. Just
honestly.
Don't mess up Scuttle. I have high expectations or low expectations, but high hopes for Scuttle and Flounder. I just love them.
I know. Honestly, though, my highest anticipated movie of the year is Barbie, so...
Oh my gosh.
I'm really excited
I'm
for
a
Barbie.
little, like... I wasn't a Barbie kid. Were you a Barbie kid?
Yeah.
I wasn't really...
I wasn't, like, over the top,
Me
but I had a
either.
collection and I played with them
I had
all
some,
the time.
and so my mom had this, like, Barbie camper from, like, the 70s, and it was so cool. And I remember playing with that. I hope she still has it, because it's, like, super vintage now, but
yeah, I think like I don't know. I think that was just the thing to give young
girl.
girls in like early 90s.
I was a
So
Polly Pocket girl.
Yeah, I feel like I know it's literally only a 2-year age difference, but my cousins had a lot of Polly Pockets and I had a lot of Barbies. So I think it was just like 93 versus 95.
You just missed the Polly Pocket boat.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think I had a couple, but it wasn't catching. I think I just kind of was on the upswing there.
That's how I felt about Barbies. I was like more into the Polly Pockets.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think that movie will be, they have the opportunity to like really go in on some really cool concepts and like big messages. Like
I really want them to like tear apart this idea of like the perfect body image.
Yeah.
I want them to just rip it to shreds.
I'm pretty hyped. It's already getting so much like traction. Yeah. I think that I don't know, like the energy is there. Like I think it's going to be really good.
Also the idea of Ryan Gosling as Ken is just so hilarious to me.
That is perfect. That is perfect casting. Anyone who says otherwise, I'm like, guys, like it's perfect. I know. It's literally him.
The last movie I saw that he was in was The Gray Man. It's on Netflix. It's really good. It's him and Chris Evans, and I was like, "This is too many beautiful people in one room." That's and they like, great. They like fight each other at the end, and I'm like, "Is this a fantasy I've had?"
Maybe.
It's just like
nice to get to watch that for free with our paid subscription.
I was like, "Your Netflix is free? What?
No.
How'd you work that out?"
We stand. I'm excited.
What color? What is your toenail polish?
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
Oh, you're wearing the same. Okay.
Look at how cute
Is it Essie?
It's OPI.
Okay. Because I have an Essie color that's called like. It's called like Playdate. No, maybe not. I don't know. I forget what it's called, but it's like cute. So similar. I love the like little daisy.
Justine, my cousin, had her bridal shower at the greenhouse, so I wanted to get flower nails. Yeah. They're so cute. I love them, but I do need to get them taken off before.
Mine are.
I jet off.
Oh yeah. What do you do when do you just?
I don't put nail polish on, or I just paint normal nail I usually bring like one or two and then let it chip off, and then I'm like, I'm over this.
Yeah, mine are just all like, there's just been a lot of suitcase lugging, so they just all like broke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, we're just gonna, in typical Kristen fashion, my nails are never all like one even length.
Oh, same.
They're all just all over the place because I never get my nails done.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, I try to just let them go for as long as I can, but then once they're all uneven, I'm like, I just want somebody to even these out. Yeah. Because I try so hard. I think I'm getting to that point. It just doesn't work.
Maybe I'll make it just like a beginning of the summer thing that I do
it on your birthday.
That's true. I have no plans.
That could be.
That could be my plans. Self-care day.
That would be really satisfying.
I like that actually. I might do that. Yeah. Because I was kind of bummed that I'm gonna have to like be alone for my birthday.
What if you just did like really nice self-care stuff, like all your favorite cozy things?
I love that.
In one day.
I love that. Well, that should involve photosynthesizing if the sun is out.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a cool way to like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Because I was kind of bummed. Birthday brainstormer.
Thank you. So. I'm gonna take myself to get a manicure.
Yeah.
Take myself to lunch.
Yeah, I love this.
I'm just taking myself on a date. Photosynthesize.
Have some tea.
Come to Jess for all your birthday needs. And on that note, we've been here for 2 hours.
I know. Today is my favorite episode.
We didn't even go on a weather tangent.
Day. No, I know. And the weather was really nice today.
It was beautiful.
So
that's all we're going to say about it.
You guys should be thankful.
That's all we're going to say about it.
We joked. We're like, we literally always have a weather update. I loved today's episode.
I loved it too.
I really did. That was just genuinely a great time.
Yeah.
And a great conversation. I hope you guys...
super honest.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that and got... whatever you needed to out of it, because I think there was a little bit of something in there for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I'm a little sad because we're not going to be able to do this together for a little while.
Oh.
But it's okay.
Yeah, we won't be in person for our next 2 episodes. Because I will be off on our little beginning of phase 2.
Do people know where you're going? We said where you were going, right?
Yeah, I haven't announced on Instagram yet, but by the time this comes
goes out,
I will.
You'll already be there.
Yeah, I will be in Costa Rica.
So by the time you're all listening to this, Jess will be in Costa Rica.
It's on to the next adventure. I'm really, really excited, looking forward to it. I'm going to be turning 30 while we're there. So will Steven. So we're going to ring in 30 in Costa Rica. We're gonna just start this new chapter of life, and
what a way to bring it in.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. So I'll keep you guys updated. It's gonna be another adventure and a lot of fun.
We haven't done like a Zoom rediscover recording in what, like a year?
Yeah,
since you were in London
before our break. Yeah, because all of our new like modern day rediscover episodes have been
modern day
on the bedroom floor here. Yeah. So it's been really nice.
Yeah.
Again, I love being here, and I love being. I don't know. I just love being wherever I'm at now.
Today is my favorite day.
Today is my favorite day,
and I love being wherever I am.
I'm taking that. Like, today is my favorite day. Like, I just want to internalize
Winnie the Pooh, wise bear.
I love it. Wow. Honestly, I feel healed and grounded after this episode.
Yeah, me too. I really want to, that's why I was like, I really want to do this today. Like, I felt like I needed to do this today.
It's so funny because I was actually tired.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You were like hoping I would cancel.
Low key.
Okay.
But you know what? I was like, whatever you say is what's meant to be. That's how I always take these things. Because like, I tend to just feel tired a lot. But I was like, okay. Yeah. Either she's going to say yes and tonight's the night, or we do it in 2 days. But honestly, I'm so glad it was tonight.
I'm sort of like big picture thinking about things today.
Yeah. And that's the vibe of the day.
Yeah. Which apparently I'm like reading a lot about like the different like weeks of your cycle, like your 28-day cycle, and like the way your like creativity fluctuates throughout them. And apparently like this phase of my cycle that I'm in is often associated with like more creative, like dynamic thinking.
What phase is it? Is it
so it's like the week right after your period. The
I always forget what that one is called.
Is it the follicular phase?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm in luteal, so that's like right before your period. So I'm more
That's
tired.
my worst week.
Oh, yeah. I always get like either really angry or I get like really anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, reel it in. Like, this is okay. Like, you're okay.
Anxiety is the worst
that
week.
It's really bad. Yeah. But
yeah.
Then at least I'm like, okay, I'm not being like psycho. I'm just literally going through my phase.
Yep.
But anyways, no. Tonight was the perfect night. This was the conversation.
To quote John Mulaney, tonight is the night, and we only have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. On that note,
I don't know. Quoting Winnie the Pooh and John Mulaney in the same episode.
It only feels right.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much.
This was great. Thanks for coming together, having a cozy chat. And we're just sending you all the love, no matter where your path is taking you. Love you guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. Happy spring.
Happy spring. We'll talk to you in a month. We'll talk to you
in June.
Woohoo.
Wild.
We're going from
best month of the year.
Taurus season to Gemini season.
Woo! See, this felt very Taurus season this episode.
Oh my God, it totally
felt so great. Oh, stay tuned, y'all. The chaos is coming.
Oh boy, I don't know.
I'm bringing it. Gemini season is coming.
Oh my God, I can't believe we just did a Taurus season episode and didn't even realize
When I tell you that like June is my favorite month, it's not just because it's my birthday month. Like I'm not as good about my birthday as you are.
Well, I am a Taurus, so.
But like there's just something about Gemini season. I just always feel like June hits and I'm like, okay.
The energy is
Let's
there.
do this.
On that note.
On that sort of daunting note.
Good night. Thank you for being here. And
I like that we say good night.
I know. It's literally 10:15 p.m. on a Friday night. So this is the perfect way to spend a Friday night.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next month. Thank you for being here. We love you.
Bye. Outro, take 1.
Thank you for joining us. Oh, hold on.
Outro, take 2.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Rediscover.
If you haven't already subscribed, hit that button and join the Rediscover fam.
Come back on the first Tuesday of every month for brand new episodes.
If you're like us and you have opinions about everything, leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Your positivity inspires our creativity, and we love hearing from you.
Follow us on Instagram at JessicaFaye508 and positively.Kristen.
And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1L.com.
Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye!